Chapter 51. Getting closer to the main gate, they saw more than 10 cold-faced guards standing watch beside it. Sitting squarely on a chair in the middle of the main gate, with an unchanging cold expression, was an old man, holding a pen and a very thick ledger in his hand. At this moment, there were quite a few clan members in front of the old man. Each clan member took out the Dou Qi Cultivation technique scroll they had found and presented it to the old man for registration. The 10 cold-faced guards stood by, observing. This was the regulation of the Dou Qi Pavilion. Before entering the Dou Qi Pavilion, Xiao Yan and everyone else already knew this rule, so the registration proceeded without any incident. Source: Triunful. The Dou Qi Pavilion was the place where the cultivation techniques collected and acquired through the laborious efforts of more than 10 generations of the Xiao clan were stored. These few techniques were the foundation of the Xiao clan status in Wutan City, so the clan was very strict about protecting these techniques. The Dou Qi cultivation techniques that Xiao Yan and the others found were scrolls made from a special material, namely ink bamboo, maju. This type of bamboo wood was unique in that it was divided into a subbody and a mother body. The mother body could sense the subbodies within a range of several tens of meters. By using this material to create the Dou Qi cultivation technique scrolls, as long as the clan leader held the mother body, the Dou Qi technique scrolls could be sensed within the mother body's monitoring range. The monitoring range of the mother body just happened to cover the area encompassed by the Xiao clan. Therefore, these technique scrolls, once they left the Xiao clan, would be easily detected. Of course, this wasn't absolute. Some powerful individuals could forcefully sever this type of sensing, but such high-level powerhouses wouldn't care about these yellow rank techniques anyway. Standing at the back of the line, after a while, it was finally Xiao Yan's turn. He walked to the front, took out the technique scroll from his chest, and presented it to the old man for registration. The old man took the red scroll from Xiao Yan with one hand. His eyes subtly sized up Xiao Yan, and he muttered to himself, "This is the blazing fire technique." The protective barrier seemed to require reaching level 9 Dou Qi to break. This brat was able to find it. He truly has some skill. Holding the technique for a moment for registration, the old man returned it to Xiao Yan and reminded him indifferently, "You should know the rules, yes. The technique cannot be taken outside the clan. If you violate this, you will be severely punished. You must return the technique in 1 year. It must not have any damage." Casually nodding, Xiao Yan stepped to the side, leaning slightly against the main gate, waiting for Suna to register. Suna smiled faintly at Xiao Yan and took out the technique from her chest. Seeing Suna in front of him, the old man, whose expression was always cold and unchanging, showed a hint of respect on his face. He smiled subtly, received the technique scroll with both hands, and quickly proceeded with the registration. Standing on the side, looking at the change in the old man's attitude, Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed. His fingers habitually rubbed his nose. The manager of the Dou Qi Pavilion held a position in the clan that was definitely no lower than the 3 elders. Xiao Yan had also heard that the old man was one of the clan's top figures, always cold-faced towards everyone. Even towards his own father, he wouldn't show any deference. Yet, this old man, who was always cold-faced and disregarded everyone, showed a respectful attitude towards Suna. This truly made Xiao Yan even more curious about Suna's identity. Rubbing his nose, remembering Suna's silence every time her identity was mentioned, Xiao Yan shook his head helplessly. He looked up at Suna's small face, which carried a smile. He slightly shrugged, and the two walked out of the main gate side by side. Stepping out of the main gate, Xiao Yan took a deep breath of the cool air. The atmosphere in the Dou Qi Pavilion was truly very depressing. "How was it, Yana?" As Xiao Yan and Suna walked out, a figure slowly approached. His eyes looked at the two, and he asked with a soft chuckle. Tilting his head and smiling at his father, Xiao Yan nodded with a smile. He lightly lifted his sleeve, revealing a red scroll, and said with a faint laugh, "Successfully acquired." Seeing the red scroll, Xiao Zhan let out a soft sigh of relief. He smiled widely and whispered, "Good, successfully acquired." Exchanging glances with Xiao Yan, the father and son laughed heartily with triumph. Lightly raising his hand and patting Xiao Yan's shoulder, Xiao Zhan said with a smile, "Now that you have the technique, wait until you become a Dou practitioner later, and you can truly cultivate Dou Qi." Xiao Yan smiled and nodded. His hand gently stroked the scroll. His eyes narrowed and he murmured softly in his heart, I wonder what is truly unique about the technique that Master spoke of. Can a technique that can evolve truly exist? More bizarre than a heaven-ranked technique. Remembering Yao Chen's arrogant words that day, Xiao Yan shook his head with a forced, bitter smile. The most powerful technique he had witnessed now was the profound rank high-level technique, flame manipulation art, that Suna had taken out earlier. To be honest, the moment he refused her, he truly felt a bit of regret in his heart. After all, a technique of that rank was something that could only be encountered by chance and not sought after. Lightly slapping his forehead, to be honest, he really regretted refusing Suna's good intentions now. However, since the words had already been spoken, he didn't have the face to ask her again. Therefore, he could only pray in his heart that Yao Chen wasn't deceiving him, or he would truly regret it to death. Humph, it's only a profound rank technique. What's the big deal? However, that little girl's background is truly not small, to be able to casually take out a profound rank technique like that. One can imagine that this girl must have many more techniques stored away. Hearing Xiao Yan's murmurs, Yao Chen snorted coldly and suddenly spoke up. He finally spoke. Hearing this voice, Xiao Yan subtly rubbed his nose. The corner of his mouth slowly smiled. He thought to himself that he had to provoke him a bit to force Yao Chen out. You little fox, daring to plot against me. As Xiao Yan's thought just arose in his mind, Yao Chen instantly realized it. He chuckled awkwardly and said helplessly, "Little brat, cultivate with peace of mind. You don't need to worry about the technique. Your future achievements won't be lower than that. Little girls. Her family is just. Forget it." Feeling a bit regretful about Yao Chen's vague last sentence, Xiao Yan nonetheless smiled and nodded. Now that Yao Chen had guaranteed it, the problem was considered solved. He should cultivate with peace of mind to become a Dou practitioner, only then would he be qualified to become a powerhouse, and only then would he be able to find Nalan Yenran to settle the score. 2 months of cultivation. After selecting their Dou Qi cultivation techniques, the entire clan suddenly quieted down. Clan members with Dou Qi below level 7 gradually left the clan, being assigned to the clan's various properties. The clan members who had reached level 7 Dou Qi and above, after finding their Dou Qi cultivation techniques, also began to cultivate diligently, using the fastest speed possible to cultivate their Dou Qi techniques. The following days were tranquil. 2 months' time flowed by like water, silently passing through the gaps, making it difficult for people to notice. The sun shone brightly above. The scorching sun emitted heat. The gentle heat radiated like a furnace, making the visibility slightly twisted, distorted, and curved. At the back of the Xiao clan's mountain peak, inside a small forest, the sunlight pierced through the leaves in the dense forest, creating small patches of light on the ground, like stars in the night sky. In the small forest, 2 figures swiftly moved, changing positions. Their palms clashed, causing the dry leaves nearby to fly up. Their palms fiercely clashed in front of them. A deep, dull sound rang out. Suna's small, fair hand gently moved. Although the attack seemed gentle, when it made contact, the soft force suddenly became filled with attack power. Xiao Yan slightly pursed the corner of his mouth. The contact with that powerful force caused him to retreat 2 steps backward. His palm, which had touched Sunna's small hands, was slightly bruised. Seeing Xiao Yan retreat backward, Sunna smiled. Her fair, jade hand slowly moved in front of her. A faint golden light flowed at the tips of her slender fingers. TSK. So strong. Steadying himself, Xiao Yan inwardly sighed in awe, shaking his head. He looked up at Sunna's smiling small mouth. He licked his lips. His fighting spirit greatly increased. His foot stomped on the ground. His body rapidly moved, instantly causing dust to fly up. Looking at Xiao Yan's attack, Sunna slightly pouted her small mouth. The golden light on her palm became even thicker. His foot stomped fiercely on the ground. Xiao Yan's body shot forward vigorously. He stopped when he was about 1 step away from Sunna. The perfect transition between extreme motion and extreme stillness at that moment felt sudden to people. Seeing Xiao Yan's exquisite control over his speed, Sunna's beautiful eyes couldn't help but reveal a look of admiration. 8 extremities collapse. His body suddenly stopped. Xiao Yan's right foot pointed to the ground. His body violently spun, increasing the upward force. His left leg swung up in midair. His left leg, filled with power, rushed forward, fiercely attacking Sunna. Looking up at Xiao Yan's fierce offensive, Sunna's jade hand lightly traced a semicircle. The golden light suddenly burst. Fourth. Her jade hand subtly traced this semicircle, and without any hesitation, blocked Xiao Yan's attack from his left leg. The kick and the palm met. A muffled sound rang out. The remaining dry leaves on the ground were all blown high into the air. The kick and the palm, after a moment of stalemate in the air, caused both their bodies to quickly retreat. His body was instantly sent flying 4 or 5 meters high by the force. Xiao Yan sighed in awe, shaking his head. Feeling that his body couldn't sustain itself, his right palm fiercely pressed onto a large tree beside him. A suction force quickly brought him down, resolving the force. His body steadily landed on the ground. Looking up, seeing Sunna also retreat backward in a similar manner, Xiao Yan smacked his lips and laughed. What Dou skill did you use just now, girl? Profound rank high-level Dou skill, swallow counter, Yan Fan Ji. Practicing it to a high level can redirect the opponent's attack force back. I've only just entered the initial stage, and can only redirect a portion of the force, Sunna said with a soft chuckle. You are reading the story taken from a.com. What? Thoughts suddenly popped up in Xiao Yan's mind, borrowing force to strike. Brother Xiao Yan's Dou skill just now was truly strong. If Sunna weren't a 1-star Dou practitioner and truly had higher strength than you, I fear I wouldn't have been able to withstand that fierce force. Sunna's beautiful eyes, lovely like a gentle moon, smiled faintly. Xiao Yan said nothing and slightly shrugged. He moved awkwardly. The intense fighting had made his body loose, and his spirit was also somewhat fatigued. His body was drenched in sweat. Xiao Yan inwardly cursed the weather and lightly took off his clothes. As his clothes came off, they revealed a sturdy body. Although not considered massive, his small figure, upon closer inspection, hid a surge of power. Looking at Xiao Yan's nude figure in front of her, Sunna's smiling small face was slightly flushed. Taking his clothes, Xiao Yan tiredly leaned against a large rock. He smiled bitterly towards Sunna, 2 months, and still stuck at the 8th segment of Dou Qi. Looking at Xiao Yan's helpless expression, Sunna lightly pursed her small mouth and smiled softly. She also leaned against the rock and sat down. She took the clothes from Xiao Yan's hand, then gently wiped the sweat off his body. She gently comforted him. The transition from 8th segment Dou Qi to 9th segment Dou Qi is the bottleneck stage of initial stage Dou Qi. Brother Xiao Yan doesn't need to be impatient. It will naturally come to completion slowly. Saying this, Sooner suddenly noticed the other person's gaze was somewhat fiery. She looked up and saw Xiao Yan staring intently at her. Her small face flushed, and she scolded softly. "Brother Xiao Yan." The girl's gentle voice instantly made the hot air in the forest cool down a bit. Because of the hot weather, Sooner was only wearing a short blue shirt that tightly bound her slender body, revealing a captivating expanse of white skin. The girl's small bosom was already subtly developing. Such youthful allure made it no wonder Xiao Yan was a bit distracted. Startled awake by Sooner, Xiao Yan's face flushed a little. He smiled shyly. Leaning against the cold rock, he slowly closed his eyes, allowing Sooner's small hands to rub his body. Slightly pouting her small red mouth, Sooner helped Xiao Yan wipe his body. The corner of her eye subtly glanced over, and she was surprised to find that Xiao Yan had fallen asleep at some point. Shaking her head helplessly, Sooner also knew that the intense fighting today had truly made Xiao Yan too tired. She gently touched her nose. Her small hands let go of the clothes. A faint golden light slowly appeared on the tips of her slender fingers. Silently looking at Xiao Yan, who showed no reaction, Sooner's fingertip gently touched Xiao Yan's skin. The golden light followed Sooner's fingertip, slowly entering Xiao Yan's body. As the golden light entered, fine beads of sweat appeared on Sooner's fair forehead. Leaning against the rock, Xiao Yan, who was sound asleep, suddenly emitted a surge of suction force from his body, absorbing the surrounding world's Dou Qi. A trace of Dou Qi began to rapidly and forcefully enter. Ah! He wants to break through. Her small mouth opened wide. Looking at Xiao Yan unconsciously absorbing Dou Qi, this kind of experience instantly made Sooner say softly in surprise. In the small dense forest, a trace of pale white energy flow appeared from the air. It then continuously and forcefully entered Xiao Yan's body as he slept. Looking at Xiao Yan, who had nearly become an energy source, Sooner was slightly frightened. She silently retreated a distance, vigilantly guarding the surroundings. If someone were to startle Xiao Yan from this state of cultivation now, he would likely lose a chance to advance. Source: https://truyanful.vn. Xiao Yan's advancement this time could be said to be as smooth as flowing water. As the Dou Qi continuously entered, the faint look of fatigue on Xiao Yan's face slowly disappeared. A pale white light radiated from his delicate face, making it look like warm jade. In the small forest, the Dou Qi fluctuation lasted for over an hour before slowly dissipating. When the last surge of Dou Qi entered Xiao Yan's body, the small forest returned to tranquility. The sunlight also continued to shine down. Looking at Xiao Yan, whose eyes were still closed but whose breathing was extremely steady, Sooner gently let out a breath. She laughed softly, saying, "Finally, he's reached the 9th segment. Perhaps in just half a year, Brother Xiao Yan can condense the Dou Qi cyclone and become a formal Dou practitioner." Smiling gently, Sooner sat cross-legged on a large rock, quietly waiting for Xiao Yan to wake up. Breakthrough and preparation. When Xiao Yan woke up, the sky was already dark. Blinking dazedly, after a moment, Xiao Yan recovered his senses. He looked up, seeing Sooner sitting on the rock, covered in a layer of silver gauze by the evening sun. Looking at her clear, intelligent eyes, he couldn't help but smile. "Brother Xiao Yan, you're awake." Seeing Xiao Yan wake up, Sooner said with a charming smile. Smiling and nodding, Xiao Yan stood up and stretched. Lazily twisting his waist, a continuous cracking sound emanated from his body. Stunned by the feeling of fullness that only a new advancement could bring, Xiao Yan clenched his fist. He immediately opened his mouth, raised his face, and said with a hint of hesitation and uncertainty, "What? I seem to have reached the 9th segment." Looking at Xiao Yan's bewildered expression, Sooner burst out laughing and nodded. Seeing Sooner nod, Xiao Yan's mouth dropped. He was shocked. yet also a bit exasperated. The last time he broke through was while sleepwalking, and this time it was while sleeping. This method of breaking through was truly too funny. Excitedly throwing a few punches, feeling his Dou Qi being several times more powerful, Xiao Yan couldn't help but chuckle. After venting all the shock in his heart, Xiao Yan realized the sky was already dark. He smiled apologetically at Suner. He knew this girl must have been waiting here. Casually taking his shirt and putting it on, Xiao Yan said humorously to Suner, "Aren't you leaving yet? Today is a joyous day. Your brother is treating you to a meal in Wuten City. Hee, I must choose the most expensive thing." Hearing this, Suner smiled calmly. Her toe lightly touched the rock, and she gracefully landed next to Xiao Yan. The girl's crisp laughter echoed throughout the forest. To thank Suner for waiting all afternoon, Xiao Yan specially took Suner for a stroll around Wuten City, and only then did they separate within the clan. Dragging his somewhat excited steps back to his room, Xiao Yan lay down on the bed, hugging his soft quilt and pillow, smiling faintly as he murmured, "Finally, I'm about to become a Dou practitioner. Heh, you should thank that little girl for this advancement." In the room, Yao Chen's aged laughter suddenly rang out. Looking up, seeing Yao Chen, who had appeared out of nowhere, Xiao Yan frowned and asked, "Is it related to Suner?" It is indeed related. Otherwise, you would likely have needed a longer time to break through. Yao Chen's transparent body floated above the chair, and he said indifferently. Shrugging helplessly, Xiao Yan buried his head in the quilt, saying dejectedly, "I'm already at the 9th segment now. Breaking through to the Dou practitioner rank will probably still take half a year." Saying this, Xiao Yan sat straight up. His face suddenly became gloomy, and a trace of coldness was in his voice. "More than a year has passed, but I still haven't become a Dou practitioner. If this speed continues, 3 years later, I fear I won't be able to fight Nailan Yenran." Hearing this, Yao Chen blinked, showing no opinion. Nailan Yenran is being cultivated by the Misty Cloud sect to become the next sect leader. Her talent is definitely not inferior. Moreover, the Misty Cloud sect has great power, and in their sect, there is a powerful alchemist like Pil King Guhi. If he assists Nailan Yenran, I fear her advancement speed won't be slower than mine." Xiao Yan muttered to himself. Yao Chen glanced at Xiao Yan, but saw this fellow staring intently at him with bright eyes. He immediately chuckled but refused to speak. Seeing Yao Chen show no reaction, Xiao Yan could only glare helplessly. These words, it seemed, were wasted. Ahem. After a moment of silence, Yao Chen finally cleared his throat. He stood up, walked forward, and said with a look of disdain, "That Guhi is only a 6th-rank alchemist. How dare he call himself Pil King? What are those who are better than him called?" Hearing Yao Chen say this, a smile immediately appeared on Xiao Yan's face. He knew this mysterious master was finally about to take action. "Go buy the ingredients tomorrow." "Humph, isn't it the qi gathering powder? I'll refine it for you to eat like potatoes. I don't believe that Nailan Yenran has such treatment." Yao Chen clasped his hands behind his back and said with an arrogant cold laugh. Of course, saying he would eat the qi gathering powder like potatoes was an exaggeration, but with Yao Chen's ability, as long as he had enough ingredients, refining more than 10 qi-gathering pills for Xiao Yan was not a difficult task. Hearing Yao Chen's arrogant words, Xiao Yan hadn't even had time to be happy before he was dampened by the ingredients Yao Chen mentioned next. "Tomorrow go prepare for stalks of 50-year-old ink leaf lotus, 2 mature snake gall fruit, 1 stalk of 20-year-old spirit-gathering grass, and a 2nd-rank water attribute magical core." Yao Chen said indifferently. He turned around and saw Xiao Yan's stiff face. He couldn't help but ask in surprise, "What's wrong?" 50-year-old ink leaf lotus. That grade of medicinal ingredient, its price is around 3,000 gold coins per stalk. Mature snake gall fruit. It's a top-grade ingredient among low-level ingredients. Some pharmacies can't even buy it. Even if you're lucky enough to find it, it costs at least 8,000 gold coins. 20-year-old spirit-gathering grass. Heavens, I only saw it once at an auction house. The price at that time was 15,000 gold coins. And the second-rank water attribute magical core also costs over 2,000 gold coins. Xiao Yan slapped his forehead, groaning in agony. The ingredients alone add up to more than 50,000 gold coins. Where am I going to get that much money? Hearing this, Yao Chen stared wide-eyed. He waved his hand and said humorously, "That's your business. It has nothing to do with me. I'm only responsible for the refining. Damn it, it's really too expensive. If I truly ate these things like potatoes, even with the Xiao clan's financial resources, they fundamentally couldn't afford it." Cursing bitterly in his heart, Xiao Yan took out the blue card from the head of the bed. He lovingly stroked it and said helplessly, "The money from selling the foundation establishing elixir last time is only a little over 10,000. It's fundamentally not enough to buy the medicinal ingredients you mentioned." Yao Chen chuckled. He sat leisurely on the chair. Weird, how did he sit on the chair? He looked indifferent, as if it didn't concern him. Rubbing his forehead, Xiao Yan pursed his mouth and said, "First, use it to buy the ingredients for the foundation establishing elixir. Refine some of the elixir to auction off. Otherwise, the money definitely won't be enough." Yao Chen nodded, expressing no opinion. Refining this kind of low-level elixir, the foundation establishing elixir, was not difficult for him. Seeing Yao Chen nod, Xiao Yan finally let out a breath. He lay heavily on the bed, laughing bitterly as he whispered, "Not having money is truly a bother. Auctioning the elixir." Early the next morning, Xiao Yan quietly left the clan. He bought enough ingredients for the foundation establishing elixir from several pharmacies in Wutan City, and then went into a secluded hotel. Since he was selling them to others, Xiao Yan didn't have the time to have Yao Chen meticulously prepare them. So, just like the last time, he bought the lowest quality, cheapest medicinal ingredients. Thus, Xiao Yan bought 7 portions of the ingredients, simultaneously spending all the remaining money on his card. While waiting for Yao Chen to refine the pills, Xiao Yan held the blue card in his hand, shaking his head helplessly. He was now back to his previous state of having no money. This refining session took Yao Chen about an hour to complete. Looking at the 7 white jade bottles on the table, Xiao Yan licked his lips and smiled, carefully storing them on his person. Patting the elixirs in his chest, Xiao Yan put on his black cloak. After the cloak completely covered his body, he chuckled and walked out of the hotel. At the primer auction house, in the appraisal room, Ye Fei, the chief auctioneer of the primer auction house, was astonished, her mouth wide open. Her eyes stared intently at the 7 bottles of foundation establishing elixir on the table. Her plump chest slightly rose and fell, displaying a captivating silhouette. Ahem. The black-robed person sitting not far away cleared his throat, making her recover her senses. Her jade hand lightly stroked the cool jade bottle. Ye Fei opened the lid and gently sniffed, then passed it to Gu Ni beside her. Receiving the white jade bottle, Gu Ni meticulously checked it for a moment. He was slightly startled and said, "They are all foundation establishing elixir." Hearing Gu Ni's confirmation, Ye Fei's eyebrows twitched slightly. Her captivating eyes flowed over the black-robed person. Her face was filled with alluring charm. "I didn't expect that after half a year, the old master would bring such a big business opportunity to our auction house. When can they be auctioned?" The aged voice of Yao Chen came from beneath the black cloak. Is the old master in urgent need of money? If it's not too urgent, Yafei suggests that you wait a day or two. It's very rare for 7 bottles of foundation establishing elixir to appear simultaneously. If we allow our auction house to promote them a little, the profit you will gain will be much greater. Yafei smiled calmly, asking softly in a probing manner. Hearing this, the black-robed person was silent for a moment. After a while, a soft "N" came out. Seeing him agree, the smile on Yafei's face deepened even more. Her jade hand picked up the teacup beside her. She could now confirm that this black-robed person was definitely a second-rank, or even third-rank alchemist. Taking a sip of the tea, the black cloak suddenly moved. An aged voice came out. I wonder if your auction house can help me find some medicinal ingredients. Her beautiful eyes shone brightly. Yafei sat on a chair. Her captivating figure revealed. She chuckled softly, saying, What medicinal ingredients does the old master need? 4 stalks of 50-year-old ink leaf lotus, 2 mature snake gall fruit, 1 stalk of 20-year-old spirit gathering grass, and a second-rank water attribute magical core. Gu Ni, on the side, heard these medicinal ingredients. His face instantly changed. A look of suspicion was added to his eyes as he assessed the black-robed person. You are reading the story at Thien Full www. Thien Full. Yafei will help the old master keep an eye out for these medicinal ingredients. If there is any news, we will notify the old master in time. Where is the old master staying? How can we contact you? Yafei's eyes glanced at Guni's changing expression. She was inwardly startled but smiled casually. No need to contact me. If you have these medicinal ingredients, just deduct them directly from the money earned from selling the foundation establishing elixir. I will come to collect them at any time. The aged voice beneath the black cloak said indifferently. I have other matters. I will return here in 2 days. Saying this casually, the black-robed person stood up and walked out of the appraisal room. Looking at the figure disappearing at the turn, Yafei's beautiful eyes narrowed. She whispered. Was there something wrong with those medicinal ingredients, Uncle Gu Ni? Gu Ni nodded slightly, sighed, and said with a bitter laugh, If I remember correctly, these are the ingredients for refining qi gathering powder. Hearing this, Yafei's face also changed. She said in surprise, Doesn't qi gathering powder require a 4th-rank alchemist to refine? Nodding, Gu Ni sighed. It seems we underestimated him this time. But there are only about 24th-rank alchemists in the Jiama Empire. Why have we never heard of this black-robed person before? Yafei lightly shook her head. A strange light flowed in her beautiful eyes. She whispered, muttering, 4th-rank alchemist. If I have the chance, I must recruit him. Family outing and provocation. The promotional effect of the primer auction house was undeniably powerful. A day after Xiao Yan handed over the foundation establishing elixir to the auction house, almost all the major and minor powers in Wuten City learned of this news. Instantly, everyone's blood boiled. This was unlike the auction of the profound rank high-level technique last time. That sky-high item was only qualified to be auctioned by a few powers. The slightly weaker powers could only watch and sigh. But the foundation establishing elixir was more practical for many people. Because it could make their grandson, or descendant, quickly become a Dou practitioner, many elders were willing to spend money to buy this practical yet not overly expensive elixir. While the foundation establishing elixir was being widely and enthusiastically promoted in Wuten City, Xiao Yan, deep within the clan, also heard some rumors. Seeing the 7 bottles of this unpure foundation establishing elixir being promoted so heavily, he also felt the charm of pills on this continent. On the 2nd day, the Xiao clan also received an invitation from the primer auction house. Perhaps because Xiao Zhan bought the Foundation establishing elixir for Xiao Yan last time. Several elders in the clan were also interested, especially those who still had descendants who hadn't reached the Dou practitioner rank. They were extremely eager. In the afternoon, Xiao Yan originally intended to go out alone, but he was informed by someone Xiao Zhan sent. Helplessly, he could only follow the messenger to the clan's main gate. Upon arriving at the main gate, not only was Xiao Zhan there, but even several elders were also present, making it look extremely lively. Looking up at Xiao Yan slowly walking towards them, Xiao Zhan smiled and waved his hand, urging him a little. Seeing his father urging him, Xiao Yan sighed. He walked closer. The corner of his eye glanced at the two people beside Xiao Zhan. His eyebrows slightly furrowed. Slow like an old woman. Looking at Xiao Yan frowning, Xiao Yu, who had been waiting for a while, was also a bit annoyed. She opened her mouth coldly to tease him. It has nothing to do with you. Xiao Yan glanced at Xiao Yu. His voice was faint, making someone nearly grind their teeth. Poochie. In the crowd, a girl's light laughter, like a silver bell, rang out. Raising his head, looking at Suna standing in the crowd, Xiao Yan shrugged at her and said with a smile, "You're going to the auction house too? It's boring in the clan. Going to watch a bit is also good." Suna walked out of the crowd and stood beside Xiao Yan, smiling calmly. "You are reading the story taken from .com. There's nothing good. It's just some foundation establishing elixir. It has no effect on you." Xiao Yan said with a casual laugh. "Humph, nothing good. If you hadn't had it, would you have advanced as quickly as I did?" Xiao Ning, who was beaten by Xiao Yan last time and rested for 2 months, looked at the two talking intimately. His face twitched. Ignoring the still aching scar, he opened his mouth to mock. "Are your bones itching again?" Blinking his eyes, Xiao Yan said with a half-smile. "You." Xiao Ning angrily clenched both hands, then immediately let go. He laughed coldly, saying, "Don't be smug. You injured me last time, but I should thank you. If it weren't for that period of recuperation, I wouldn't have been able to touch the 9th segment so quickly. At most 7 more days and I can step into the 9th segment. At that time, it's not certain whose bones will be itching." Hearing Xiao Ning say this, the elders and clan members around couldn't help but look at him in surprise. The first elder beside him also had a somewhat smug look on his aged face, likely thinking his grandson brought him honor. Xiao Zhan frowned, glaring slightly at the first elder. He was about to wave his hand for everyone to set off, but he saw the humorous look on Xiao Yan's face. He couldn't help but be startled, and the words that reached his mouth were swallowed back. Looking at Xiao Ning's cold, smug expression, Xiao Yan opened his mouth. He was silent for a moment, shook his head, and said with a helpless soft laugh, "About that, it's meaningless. A few days ago, I accidentally reached the 9th segment already. It seems you are still slower than I am." "Ah." Hearing Xiao Yan say this, the surrounding clan members instantly fell silent. Their astonished eyes shifted to Xiao Yan. Accidentally, broke through. Shaking their heads with a forced laugh, everyone secretly thought that this little fellow truly intended to provoke others. Poor Xiao Ning. Hearing Xiao Yan's words, Xiao Ning's smug face suddenly stiffened. The corner of his mouth twitched. He stared intently at Xiao Yan. After a moment, he slumped down dejectedly. He originally thought this advancement could help him regain some face, but he didn't expect it to be an even more severe blow. Xiao Yu pulled the stricken Xiao Ning. She fiercely glared at Xiao Yan, but this time, she didn't open her mouth to mock him. She only muttered in her heart, "How exactly does this Xiao brat cultivate? It's only been 2 months, ah. How did he reach the 9th segment already?" Even though her relationship with Xiao Yan wasn't good, Xiao Yu was still shaken by Xiao Yan's cultivation speed. Ha ha. Seeing the astonished expressions of the clan members around him, Xiao Zhan's eyebrows instantly relaxed. He laughed loudly a few times. He glanced at the first elder's helpless face and said with a hearty laugh, "Let's go, let's go. The auction is about to begin. Everyone, don't delay any more. It won't be good if we arrive late and the items are snatched away." Looking at the few elders walking out of the main gate, Xiao Zhan couldn't help but turn around and rub Xiao Yan's head. He said with a joyful laugh, "Not bad, not bad. You brought honor to your father. Those old fellows have mentioned how good their grandsons are, no less than 10 times these past few days, making me so annoyed. It's just because they want the clan to buy their grandsons a bottle of foundation establishing elixir. They truly bother others. Getting old and still being greedy." His hair messed up from the rubbing, Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. He shrugged innocently. He lifted his foot to walk out of the main gate and said helplessly, "I originally didn't want to say it, but that fellow kept bringing it up again and again." Xiao Ning, who had walked not far out of the door, heard Xiao Yan say this. The corner of his mouth twitched. He truly felt a little frustrated and wanted to cry. The Primer auction house today was undoubtedly one of the hottest days in the past half-year. The clamor in the main hall made Xiao Yan and the others who had just arrived feel deafened. It was like a swarm of flies buzzing around, making people irritable and vexed. Looking at the main hall, Xiao Zhan frowned, shaking his head helplessly. He could only have the auction house staff lead them into the VIP passage. Only then were they able to enter the auction room safely. In the auction room, although the number of people wasn't small, it was much quieter. Xiao Zhan's gaze swept across the auction room, then he led Xiao Yan and the others to a position in front of the auction stage and sat down. Sitting near the back, Xiao Yan boredly looked around, leaning lazily against the back of the chair, waiting for the auction to begin. "Sister, it seems the Jianan Academy's recruitment time will be in half a year." Xiao Yan leisurely crossed his legs. His eyes squinted, wanting to sleep. A somewhat eager question from Xiao Ning suddenly rang in his ear. That specific name couldn't help but make his eyebrows furrow. The Jianan Academy. The famous Dou Qi school of the Dou Qi Continent truly possessed formidable strength, far exceeding ordinary people's imagination. It was said that to become a mentor in the Jianan Academy, one must at least be a great Dou master. If compared in terms of strength, even the Misty Cloud sect might be somewhat weaker. On the Dou Qi Continent, academies and sects were slightly different. Joining a sect meant enduring certain restrictions, and working later would represent the sect. Academies were different. After graduation, there were no compulsory relations from the academy anymore. Although that was the case, humans were not creatures without feelings. In the environment of the academy, disciples easily developed a kind of affection for it. Upon graduation, this vague feeling would make many people willing to support the academy with whatever was within their capabilities. The help of one person might not be useful, but if it came from tens of thousands of people, the threat created was quite formidable. And this was precisely the goal of all academies. Entering the academy was the best way to obtain high-level Dou skills and techniques. At the level of schooling like the Jianan Academy, if one showed outstanding performance or was favored by some mentors, they might even be able to obtain some high-level techniques and Dou skills. With these two things, the distance to becoming a powerhouse would be much shorter. Techniques, Dou skills, and pills were the three types of items with the greatest alluring power. The Jianan Academy occupied two of these things. Therefore, in the hearts of countless people on the continent, as long as one entered the Jianan Academy, they basically didn't need to worry about their future. Every disciple who successfully graduated from the Jianan Academy would be quickly snatched up by powers everywhere. Their future could be said to be bright. You are reading the story at https://truyenful.vn. Therefore, every year countless youths thought of all sorts of ways to enter the Jianan Academy. However, the Jianan Academy was indeed a good place, but its recruitment requirements were extremely strict. Before the age of 18, one must reach the 8th segment of Dou Qi. The strict recruitment limit kept all those with insufficient talent out of the door. Therefore, those who could enter the Jianan Academy were without exception individuals of high talent. Hearing Xiao Ning's question, Xiao Yu nodded slightly. Her eyes glanced at Xiao Yan. And she said in a smug tone, "Don't worry. You are already qualified for recruitment. Furthermore, the mentor in charge of recruitment this time in the Wutian City area is my mentor. She is a 5-star Dou master. With your sister helping you, there will definitely be no problem." Heh, that's good then. Hearing this, a hint of joy appeared on Xiao Ning's face. He nodded excitedly. Listening to the conversation between the two beside him, Xiao Yan pursed his mouth. If it were before, he would also have to enter the Jianan Academy to obtain higher level techniques and Dou skills. But now, having a master with a mysterious background like Yao Chen, the Jianan Academy could hardly attract him. Brother Xiao Yan, are you not planning to take the entrance exam for the Jianan Academy in half a year? Beside him, Suner looked at Xiao Yan's uninterested appearance and asked softly. Hearing Suner's question, Xiao Yu frowned on the side. She also shifted her gaze. She had already made a decision. If this little brat also wanted to go to the Jianan Academy, she would definitely ask her mentor to give him some hardship. Xiao Yan rubbed his nose and said reluctantly, "I have no interest. What is there to learn with a bunch of little brats? If I want Dou Qi techniques, going to look for treasures on the mountain is more exciting." Humph, what arrogant words. Do you really think the academy is begging you to join? Just a bit of talent and you're so arrogant. Talent like yours is not rare in the Jianan Academy. It's better if you don't enter. With your hateful temper, you would most likely just be seeking a setback. Hearing Xiao Yan disparage the academy that she was proud of, Xiao Yu's face turned cold. And she scolded coldly. Xiao Yan glanced at Xiao Yu, pursed his mouth, but didn't bother to pay attention to her. His agreement with Nalan Yenran had less than 2 years remaining. His only goal now was to surpass that woman. Time was running out, and the gap between the two was still not small. Xiao Yan wouldn't believe that the Jianan Academy could help him surpass Nalan Yenran within 2 years. If he couldn't achieve his goal, why bother going to that lousy academy? Could they teach him the alchemy technique like Yao Chen? And even if they could teach him, would they have Yao Chen's ability? Shaking his head, Xiao Yan didn't argue with her about the academy. His gaze looked into the distance, finding that people from the other 2 major clans had also entered the auction room. In the crowd, Xiao Yan suddenly detected a cold gaze. He raised his head and found it was none other than Lao, with whom he had clashed in the market area before. At this moment, the young master of the Jiao clan was staring intently at him with ill intent. He occasionally greedily glanced at Sun's graceful figure. Seeing Xiao Yan look back, he immediately smiled coldly, his mouth subtly moving. Indifferently looking at Lao's subtly opening and closing mouth, Xiao Yan could vaguely guess his meaning. Xiao clan's little trash. Has the coming-of-age ceremony finally concluded? Don't let your young master see you in Wutian City later, or else, haha. Slightly narrowing his eyes at Lao's smug smile, Xiao Yan smiled faintly. A chilling light flashed in his eyes. Casually accepting the cold gaze, Xiao Yan truly didn't want to engage in a verbal fight with this fellow, so he enduringly remained silent. His 10 fingers habitually curled and stretched. The bizarre suction force, like regular breathing, rhythmically breathed in and out in his palm. Having practiced for over a year, Xiao Yan was now proficient in the suction palm and fierce fire palm. although he hadn't reached the state of perfect mastery. If he engaged in combat with others, he could definitely ensure that, provided the opponent didn't use speed, relying on the rapid conversion between these two Dou skills would achieve an effective and injurious attack. Brother Xiao Yan, that guy seems much stronger than before, ah. Beside him, Sooner glanced at the Yao Lao group not far away and said with a smile. You are reading the story at Thien Full www. Thien Full. Xiao Yan slightly nodded and said indifferently, his father bought a profound rank high-level wind attribute technique at the auction last time. Yao Lao himself is a wind attribute person. In 1 year's time, he has also switched to cultivating the new Dou Qi technique. His strength is naturally much stronger than before. No wonder he's so arrogant. Is a profound rank high-level technique really that useful, Sooner chuckled softly. A golden flame faintly flashed in her beautiful, clear eyes. Xiao Yan laughed and shook his head, saying, it's naturally useless to you, a little rich lady who can casually take out a profound rank high-level technique. Hearing Xiao Yan's teasing, Sooner's face slightly furrowed. She glanced at him and said somewhat resentfully, even if it's useful, Brother Xiao Yan wouldn't care. Hearing this, Xiao Yan smiled awkwardly. He quickly walked onto the high platform and said, the auction is beginning. Looking at Xiao Yan pretending to speak, Sooner could only shake her head helplessly. Her gaze turned towards the lamp on the stage. The auction begins. Under the focused attention of countless gazes, Yafei, wearing a red qipao, slowly stepped onto the auction stage. The red qipao enveloped her plump figure, causing many eyes to turn hot. With a seductive smile on her face, Yafei covered her mouth and greeted everyone. Her words seemed to easily incite a lustful fire, effortlessly heating up the atmosphere in the auction hall. Looking at the rapidly heating atmosphere, Xiao Yan couldn't help but let out a sigh. She was indeed the chief auctioneer of the primer auction house. Just a few words could make men with weak self-control feel hot-headed. Yafei only needed to casually introduce an item, and many people would surely treat it as a treasure and compete to buy it. Seeing the atmosphere heat up, Yafei felt a little smug in her heart. Years of experience made her clearly understand how much alluring power her beauty held over men. Her red lips lifted in a faint smile. Her captivating eyes flowed across the auction hall. Her gaze swept over the youth sitting behind Xiao Zhan, and she couldn't help but be slightly startled. Although the youth was staring intently at the auction stage, his gaze let Yafei know that the youth seemed completely uninterested in her beauty. She immediately frowned slightly in surprise. Looking back at Xiao Yan, Yafei's red lips parted and she chuckled softly. She clapped her jade hands and smiled, saying, gentlemen, Yafei knows everyone's purpose this time. Therefore, the opening of this auction will be omitted. We will go straight to the main topic. Finished speaking, Yafei lightly waved her jade hand. The lamp light instantly dimmed considerably. She subtly moved her body. Her jade hand took out a small silver jade plate. A small, white jade bottle was placed on the jade plate. Seeing this white jade bottle, everyone's eyes immediately turned hot. They subtly rubbed their hands, preparing to bid. The foundation establishing elixir this time is the same as the last time. The grade is also the same. Furthermore, the auction house has invited Master Gu Ni to personally inspect it, so everyone can rest assured. Yafei smiled lightly. Her eyes suddenly turned towards Xiao Yan. Carrying a charming and captivating smile, the last foundation establishing elixir was purchased by clan leader Xiao. And after clan leader Xiao purchased it, young Master Xiao Yan leaped from level 3 Dou Qi to level 8 Dou Qi within a year's time. Was the reason for this due to the foundation establishing elixir? Yafei doesn't know. Finished speaking, a look of cunning flashed in Yafei's beautiful eyes. Hearing Yafei's statement, everyone in the room immediately shifted their gaze from the auction stage. They looked at Xiao Yan with surprise and awe. Although Xiao Yan's terrifying cultivation speed had long been spread throughout Wuten City, many people hadn't witnessed it. Having the opportunity to personally see it today, many couldn't help but exclaim. Simultaneously, everyone developed a greedy desire for the foundation establishing elixir in their hearts. Not far away, looking at Xiao Yan becoming the center of attention, Yao Lao's mouth showed a chilling look. He laughed coldly with disdain. Being the focus of everyone's attention, Xiao Yan felt a little uncomfortable. He truly felt a bit exasperated. This woman was truly cunning. She was using him for free advertisement. The price of the foundation establishing elixir would surely increase by 2 or 3 times now. This woman, not becoming a merchant is truly a waste. Sighing emotionally, although his heart was bothered by the gazes of everyone around him, thinking that the item being auctioned was his, he could only shake his head helplessly and fiercely glare at the smiling Yafei below. Seeing Xiao Yan glare at her, Yafei showed no fear. Instead, she boldly gave Xiao Yan a seductive glance, causing the men sitting behind Xiao Yan to secretly swallow a mouthful of saliva. The starting price for the first bottle of foundation establishing elixir is 15,000. Yafei smiled and directly announced the starting price of the foundation establishing elixir, doubling the price on the spot. How cruel! Hearing this price below the stage, Xiao Yan secretly shook his head. Women truly were a ruthless species. Bidding war. As soon as Yafei announced the price, the entire hall was briefly quiet. However, very quickly, a young man, whose mind was instantly captivated by Yafei's smile, hurriedly shouted loudly, 16,000. After shouting the price, this person's face was slightly pale, but he still pretended to be elegant, slightly bowing his head towards Yafei on the stage. He completely forgot that his eyes were tightly glued to her plump bosom. Secretly laughing coldly and despising this person, whose mind was entirely occupied by a woman's body, Yafei still maintained a perfect smile on her face. She turned to the crowd below the stage and said with a soft laugh, "Does anyone else want to bid?" 17,000. 19,000. After a moment of silence, the hall below became noisy again. Sounds of increasing bids continuously rang out, making that person look ashamed. Finally, when the price reached 23,000, he had to awkwardly retreat. Hearing the price continuously increasing, Xiao Yan, although not overly surprised, still had to gasp in awe. The level of interest everyone here had for the foundation establishing elixir clearly exceeded his expectation. It seemed the decision to let the primer auction house promote it was indeed a bit insightful. For the first bottle of foundation establishing elixir, the 3 major clans maintained a neutral stance and had not opened their mouths to bid. The weaker powers seized this opportunity and desperately increased the price, wanting to bring it into their possession. After all, elixirs that could increase the speed of Dou Qi cultivation were rare even throughout the Jiama Empire. After nearly half an hour of contention, the first bottle of foundation establishing elixir finally stopped at a price of 47,000. Looking at the fat man's joyful expression due to his successful bid, Xiao Yan truly felt speechless. He hadn't expected that these people were even more frantic than his father's bid last time. The cost to create the foundation establishing elixir was nearly 1,000 gold coins. It instantly increased by several tens of times. This terrifying explosive profit made Xiao Yan feel somewhat incredulous. Rubbing his chin, Xiao Yan stared wide-eyed. He suddenly thought to himself, if he hadn't met Yao Chen, would he even be qualified to live such a luxurious life, using a bottle of foundation establishing elixir every day? Seeing the first bottle of foundation establishing elixir sell for a high price, Yafei also let out a soft sigh of relief. She thought to herself, this price should be able to satisfy that mysterious person. As long as he can develop a bit of goodwill towards the primer auction house, that is enough. Lightly shaking her head, Yafei looked at the disappointed expressions of those who failed to bid in the arena. She smiled. Then, before everyone's eyes, she took out 2 more jade bottles and said with a smile, "The remaining 6 bottles of foundation establishing elixir will be sold in 3 batches. Each batch will have 2 bottles. The starting price is 30,000 gold coins." Seeing the 2 bottles of foundation establishing elixir, the hall became strangely quiet. Their eyes began to sweep towards the 3 major clans. They all knew that this time, the 3 powers were likely going to take action. 31,000. The clan leader of the Xiao Lai clan, Xiao Lai Bai, after a moment of silence, slowly made a bid. Heh, Xiao Lai Bai, didn't you spend all the clan's money buying the technique last time? Why are you so stingy now? You can only offer 1,000. Hearing Xiao Lai Bai's bid, which was far below his usual style, Ao Ba Ma immediately laughed mockingly. Xiao Lai Bai's face twitched slightly. He glared coldly at Ao Ba Ma. But he didn't retort. His eyes just stared gloomily at the white jade bottle on the stage. 35,000. Seeing that his mockery received no reaction, Ao Ba Ma also lost some interest. He waved his hand and made an indifferent bid. 38,000. Xiao Lai Bai coldly followed suit. 45,000. Ao Ba Ma's expression was provocative. 50,000. As the price came out, Xiao Lai Bai's hand was slightly trembling. Just as Ao Ba Ma had said earlier, although it was unpleasant to hear, it was true. To snatch that profound rank high level technique last time, they had nearly used up the Xiao Lai clan's accumulated gold. Recently, the Xiao Lai clan's properties had shrunk by 2 or 3 parts. 55,000. 56,000. Looking at these 2 who were almost fighting in anger, everyone in the hall sighed regretfully. Even if they had enough money, they didn't have the strength to compete with the 3 major clans. After all, each of the Wutan city's 3 major clans had at least 3 great Dou master-level powerhouses. Although economy was considered the root of a powerful clan, if they didn't have the military power to protect that economy, no matter how much money they had, they couldn't stand firm. Therefore, everyone present here was sensible enough not to participate in the competition between the 2 clans. Only occasionally, their eyes were directed at the Xiao clan, which was still maintaining a neutral stance. When the price of the foundation establishing elixir reached 73,000, Xiao Lai Bai finally backed down, clearing his throat. His clan could no longer afford to squander money. Looking at Xiao Lai Bai clearing his throat, Ao Ba Ma smugly retracted his body. A bright smile appeared on his face. Amidst the competition between the 2 parties, Yafei on the stage still maintained her captivating smile. Looking at the expectant eyes of the 2, she was like a gentle flow of light. Only when the price was set did she hesitantly strike the hammer in her hand. Just as Yafei was about to present the next 2 bottles of elixir, Xiao Yan, who had been silent all this time, finally raised his hand. His voice was faint, causing Xiao Lai Bai to feel a sense of weariness already. 75,000. His calm voice echoed throughout the hall amidst the chaos. Yafei on the stage was also slightly shaken by Xiao Yan's imposing manner. She was startled for a moment, then smiled and asked, "Does anyone want to raise the bid?" Xiao Lai Bai sat in his chair, his eyes fiercely and venomously staring at the calmly smiling Xiao Yan. He cursed resentfully in his heart, "Bastard. If you hadn't played that trick on me last time, how could my Xiao Lai clan be so humiliated?" His pupils slightly flashed. Xiao Lai Bai clenched his teeth and suddenly shouted coldly, 85,000. 95,000. Xiao Yan disdainfully glanced at Xiao Lai Bai. His large hand cupped forward, looking like he meant to follow him to the end no matter what he offered. Seeing Xiao Zhan's determined stance this time, Jiao Laibai's mouth slightly twitched. A cold, smug smile flashed in the depths of his eyes. He seemed to hesitate, then gritted his teeth and suddenly shouted, 100,000. Hearing Jiao Laibai's bid, the hall instantly erupted in a commotion. Gasps of surprise filled the air. Using 100,000 gold coins to buy 2 bottles of foundation establishing elixir was clearly a huge gamble. You are reading the story at https://truyenful.vn. Narrowing his eyes at the seemingly desperate Jiao Labai, Xiao Yan smiled lightly. He shook his head and whispered to Suna, I bet that if father bids one more time, that guy will immediately back down. Suna blinked her long eyelashes. She hadn't paid attention to the bidding war between the two parties. She immediately said with surprise, looking at that guy, he seems very eager to win, ah. Xiao Yan chuckled but said no more. Before the stage. Hearing Jiao Laibai's increased bid, Xiao Zhan was silent for a moment. He suddenly stood up forcefully. His eyes looked somewhat strangely at Jiao Labai. A moment later, he suddenly smiled. And the words he spoke made him gape in surprise, you win. When Xiao Zhan's words came out, the entire hall was briefly quiet. After a long while, sounds of slight schadenfreude turned towards Jiao Labai, who was clearing his throat. TSK, 100,000 gold coins to buy 2 bottles of foundation establishing elixir. That guy is truly generous, ah. Looking at Jiao Laibai's ugly face, Xiao Yan lowered his head and couldn't help but chuckle softly. Looking at the triumphant Xiao Yan, Suna laughed softly and said, normally, a second-rank elixir sells for at most 30,000 gold coins. This foundation establishing elixir is a miraculous medicine that can increase the speed of Dou Qi cultivation. It is usually rare, so the price is naturally quite high. However, using 100,000 gold coins to buy it, that Jiao Labai is indeed truly generous. Xiao Yan smiled and nodded. He gestured and said with a laugh, 1 bottle of second rank foundation establishing elixir can sell for several tens of thousands of gold coins. I think powerful alchemists must all be swimming in money. Alchemists are the richest profession on the continent. These words are definitely true. Every alchemist has enormous wealth. Suna nodded and chuckled softly. Her eyes glanced at the foundation establishing elixir on the stage and she said, however, the higher the rank of the alchemist, the less often they auction off the elixirs they refine. At that time, external goods and money are very difficult to move them. Bartering. Xiao Yan's eyebrows jumped. He somewhat understood why Yao Chen's private collection was so abundant. And, using techniques, dou skills, or rare medicinal ingredients, high-rank magical cores, to exchange for the elixirs in the alchemist's hands. Her pink small mouth pouting attractively, Suna whispered, so, alchemists are a profession envied on the continent. Everyone dreams of becoming an alchemist, but those, nearly strict conditions have cut off the thoughts of countless people. Looking at Suna's small face, which held a hint of regret, Xiao Yan rubbed his nose, sighing with emotion that he was fortunate to have a mutated soul. You are reading the story at https://truyenful.vn. Stopping their conversation, Xiao Yan shifted his gaze to the other side. Looking at Jiao Laibai's ugly face. Also stunned by Xiao Zhan's words, Jiao Labai stared blankly at Xiao Zhan, who was washing his hands of the matter. The corner of his eyes twitched violently. After a long while, he said hoarsely, bastard, you played a trick on me again. It's the same, isn't it? It's just that your mind hasn't been clear recently, so your acting was a bit poor. Xiao Zhan smiled calmly, his tone not without a hint of mockery. Good, Xiao Zhan, I, Jiao Labai, will remember this debt. Taking a few deep breaths, Jiao Laibai's pupils were cold and venomous. Towards this kind of threat, Xiao Zhan directly ignored it. He laughed coldly, turned his head to look at Yafei, and said with a smile, "Miss Yafei, please proceed with the final auction." Smiling and nodding, Yafei's face still maintained a reserved smile, but she couldn't help but laugh inwardly. This auction had far exceeded her expectations. The higher the auction price, the more she could make that mysterious alchemist feel goodwill towards the primer auction house. Giving a comforting smile to the ugly-faced Xiao Lai, Yafei took out the last 2 bottles of foundation establishing elixir. She smiled calmly, her red lips parting. "Gentlemen, this is the final batch of elixir. The starting price is still 30,000 gold coins." Seeing the final batch of elixir come out, the few elders sitting beside Xiao Zhan's aged faces instantly twitched. They turned to Xiao Zhan, their eyes full of implied meaning. Sitting indifferently in his chair, Xiao Zhan ignored the elders' gazes. He looked around the quiet hall, and then said lightly, 50,000. Hearing Xiao Zhan's bid, Xiao Laibai's face twitched. His mouth moved. Thinking of his lack of funds, he could only grind his teeth bitterly. On the other side, Ao Ba Ma, looking at Xiao Zhan's indifferent expression, frowned. His finger lightly tapped, and his eyes flashed slightly. He laughed softly, 55,000. The relationship between Wutan City's 3 major clans was somewhat strange. Although they controlled the properties of the major clans in Wutan City, everyone was afraid that if one acted alone, the opponent would reap the benefits. But if they allied, they were suspicious of each other. Therefore, unless they were sure they could eliminate the opponent, the 3 parties maintained this fragile, strange balance. The 3 major clans all had grudges against each other. They all disliked one another. Don't look at how Ao Ba Ma had coldly mocked and taunted Xiao Lai earlier. Now that it was Xiao Zhan's turn to bid, he treated him the same way he treated Xiao Lai. It was simply a small price increase, causing a bit of trouble for the Xiao clan was still extremely enjoyable. Ao Ba Ma's bid did not change Xiao Zhan's expression. He glanced casually and said indifferently, 65,000. 65,000 was already a bit higher than the market price for the foundation establishing elixir. However, Xiao Zhan also understood in his heart that in a competition involving the 3 major clans, successfully buying the elixir at a low price was clearly impossible. Clan leader Xiao is truly generous, but I don't want to cause you trouble. I have already successfully purchased this foundation establishing elixir. I will yield this time. Looking at Xiao Zhan's increased bid, Ao Ba Ma hesitated for a moment. It seemed that Xiao Laibai's suffering earlier had made him much more cautious. Looking at Ao Ba Ma's half-smile, Xiao Zhan also joined in the laughter. He leaned against the back of his chair and whispered in a low voice, "Damn it, I had to spend another 10,000. This bastard is not a good person either." Hearing this, Xiao Yan was a bit amused. In this kind of competition, where were the good people? If the other party hadn't been afraid of suffering the same fate as Xiao Lai, he would surely not have backed down. His finger gently stretched out. Xiao Yan watched Yafei strike the hammer down. He sighed in relief in his heart. This amount of money was enough for him to use for a period of time. Now, as long as the medicinal ingredients arrived, he could have Yao Chen refine the qi-gathering powder. Dou practitioner is finally not far away. Ah! Licking his lips, Xiao Yan breathed a sigh of relief. This path of cultivation was something he had traveled before. The mysterious buyer. Seeing the auction was about to conclude, Xiao Yan made an excuse to leave the auction. He carefully left the auction room. After wandering around the nearby intersection for a few turns, Xiao Yan then slipped into a small alley. He casually pulled the black cloak over his body, and then calmly and slowly walked into the auction room. Since learning that Xiao Yan was a 4th-rank alchemist, Yafei had arranged for eyes and ears in the center of the auction house. Therefore, the moment Xiao Yan walked in this time, a delicate maid immediately led him respectfully into the guest room. Silent, Xiao Yan sat in the chair. He held the teacup and took a small sip. He glanced at the girl beside him, nodded slightly, and his mouth moved. The faint aged voice came out, "How much longer until the auction concludes?" "Ah?" Startled by the sudden faint voice, the young girl secretly glanced at Xiao Yan, who was completely covered in the black cloak. Her hand tightly clenched. Her small, timid face whispered, "Your Excellency, the auction has concluded. Miss Yafei is currently with everyone completing the handover procedures." Looking at the girl's worried appearance like a small rabbit, Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Was he really that terrifying? Shaking his head helplessly, he had no choice but to continue maintaining his silent state. Bowing her head on the side, the young girl didn't hear Xiao Yan speak again. She secretly let out a sigh of relief in her heart. When she received the task, Master Gu and I had solemnly warned her that she must satisfy this mysterious big shot at all costs, even if his request was a little excessive. Having worked at the auction house for nearly a year, this young girl naturally understood the implication of excessive request. Therefore, every time Xiao Yan opened his mouth, she was scared and trembled, afraid that this mysterious big shot would make that request. After the young girl endured nearly 10 minutes of nervous waiting, the sound of hurried footsteps rang out outside the door, finally making her let out a small sigh of relief. "Ah, old master, you've arrived so early. Was there any poor hospitality that we should be forgiven for?" Slowly walking into the guest room, Yafei's slender waist swayed like a water snake, exuding a captivating charm. Combined with her plump figure, it nearly ignited a flame of impulse in the hearts of men with weak self-control. Demonius! Xiao Yan secretly cursed. He subtly moved his body backward and nodded faintly. "You are reading the story taken from .com." Seeing Xiao Yan nod, the girl beside him let out another small sigh of relief. She bowed respectfully and quickly retreated outside. Seeing that Xiao Yan showed no signs of displeasure, Yafei finally felt relieved. She smiled at him, her smile possessing a natural allure. Smiling faintly and weakly, Xiao Yan truly didn't dare to delay with this fox spirit. He subtly stroked the black ring, and hurriedly ceded the right to speak to Yao Chen. "Has the auction concluded?" Smiling softly, revealing her white teeth, Yafei lightly raised her hand, revealing the light green jade card in her hand. She smiled, saying, "Old master, the 7 bottles of foundation establishing elixir sold for a total of 285,000 gold coins. After deducting the commission, all the remaining gold coins are in here." Reaching out and accepting the light green jade card, which felt comfortably cool in his hand, it was clearly a luxury item. Subtly stroking the jade card, Xiao Yan nodded. Looking at the fair, youthful-looking hand, a strange feeling arose in Yafei's heart. This price has exceeded expectations. I am truly satisfied. The aged voice rang out, making Yafei smile happily. She chased away the strange feeling in her heart. She lightly pursed her pink lips and smiled faintly, saying, "In the future, if the old master needs to sell any more pills, please come to the Primer auction house. We will strive for the best price for you. I need medicinal ingredients. Were you able to find them?" Nodding, Xiao Yan accepted the jade card. He hesitated for a moment, and Yao Chen immediately spoke up to inquire. Her long, narrow, beautiful eyes slightly curved up, showing their beauty. Yafei smiled, her gentle voice carrying a hint of pleasant surprise for Xiao Yan. The old master's request is naturally something our auction house must strive to fulfill with all our might." Yafei lightly clapped her hands. Gu and I personally brought in a set of jade plates and quickly walked in. He then stopped beside Xiao Yan, bowed slightly, and carefully placed the jade plates on the table. He smiled, saying, "Your Excellency, all the medicinal ingredients you requested are here." Xiao Yan looked at the medicinal ingredients on the jade plates beside him. A hint of pleasant surprise flashed in his eyes. The Primer auction house truly had considerable capabilities. If he had to buy these medicinal ingredients himself, it would surely take a lot of effort and time. Yet, this auction house found all the medicinal ingredients in just one day. Xiao Yan was truly overjoyed. Thank you. Seeing all the ingredients for refining the qi gathering powder in his hand, Yao Chen's faint voice sounded a little more amiable. Having been at the auction house for many years, Ye Fei naturally noticed the more amicable tone in Yao Chen's voice. She was instantly delighted. This transaction was truly a success. I won't take advantage of you. You can deduct the cost of these medicinal ingredients from this jade card. Seeing Xiao Yan about to take out the jade card, Ye Fei quickly smiled and said, "Old master, we acquired these medicinal ingredients internally, so the price is much cheaper than outside. You have brought a lot of reputation to our auction house by coming twice. For just that, how can we dare to take money? Fine, suit yourselves. If I need medicinal ingredients in the future, I will exchange them with you for foundation establishing elixir." Nodding, Yao Chen, who was as shrewd as they come, naturally understood that she wanted to establish a relationship. He immediately responded. A look of surprise flashed in Ye Fei's eyes. She carefully took the medicinal ingredients from the jade plates, and then carefully stored the jade plates. "All right. I have other matters. I cannot stay long." Seeing that he had acquired the medicinal ingredients, Xiao Yan stood up and walked straight out. "Old master, Ye Fei will see you off." Ye Fei and Gu Ni exchanged signals. Both quickly walked forward, earnestly leading the way. At the Primer auction house, with the two managers respectfully leading the way, one in front and one behind, Xiao Yan stepped out of the guest room, and walked slowly with his head held high. Stepping out of the guest room, facing the auction hall, Xiao Yan's gaze swept over the crowd. He couldn't help but feel a little guilty. He pulled up his cloak slightly. He discovered that his father, Xiao Zhan, was among the crowd who had just finished their purchases. Please don't come over, ah." Xiao Yan secretly prayed in his heart.